Welcome back to a new edition of the Hallowed End News. This is Rue, and I will be your host for this episode. So today, we will be covering some changes coming with the 7.0 pre-patch that's only going to be up in the next couple of weeks. Currently, the pre-patch is live on the PTR realms. Typically, that means about 3 to 4 weeks' time. If our calculations are right, and based on trends from the past, we are expecting possibly the middle of July, maybe around the 19th, for the actual pre-patch launch. Now, this is all predating the launch of Legion, which is happening on August 30th. Will give us about at least a month to a month and a half to really get used to all the changes coming. So, what are we going to be covering here today on this episode? We are going to be doing a high-level overview of the class updates and some things going along with that. We will be going over Demon Hunters, Profession Overhaul, Transmog Overhaul, the Demonic Invasion pre-event, and the Broken Shore event. We're also going to throw in a bonus item, some suggestions on how to make some easy gold, just farming up some old content. So, let's get started. Class updates. The Burning Legion is coming. Blizzard has said it's definitely time to make some changes. This time it's going to be class identities. So playstyles, the classes that you know, the way they act, the way they play, are changing. Most of them getting a significant update. Some of them a complete facelift. Others not getting a huge change, but some quality of life. This goes live day 1 of pre-patch. Examples. Marksman Hunters and Survival Hunters have long competed for which one is better. They're both almost identical. Just some skills are a little different, and some stacking is a little different. But overall, they're about the same. This, changing it completely. Survival Hunters are now going to be melee-oriented. Marksmen, completely ranged-oriented. They are two different things, two different playstyles, two different skill sets. There's no correlation between them. You wouldn't know they're actually hunters. Same thing goes for rogues. Combat rogues are getting renamed outlaw rogues. They are donning gun and sword, although the gun is not actually an artifact that you're getting. It's just a skill. But you are going to be seeing a significant change between subtlety, assassin, and outlaw now. However, other things like the DK. Most of the changes aren't really affecting the Blood DK or the Frost DK or the Unholy too much. They're just making them more individualized. Things like the Arcane Mage, they didn't really change at all. A few things as far as spells go, but most of it is identical play as you currently see today. Big key thing there is they changed the mastery. So now, it's no longer number crunching to make sure you're 90% mana. These are the types of changes that these class updates are going to have. We urge you, definitely urge you, check out your class. Learn what's changing to it. If you don't like the changes now, right now is the best time to change your class and find something that you're going to enjoy. It's also the best time to start brushing up on what you know about your class. So that's that as far as class updates go. With that, things like multi-strike, bonus armor, spirit, they are being removed. They're no longer deemed necessary for the actual classes at hand. Multi-strike was nothing more than a different variation of critical strike, because the damage it did was almost identical, and it was the same concept, just visually more attractive. So things like that are going away. Now, they are going to bake things like Spirit into Intellect. So you're not going to have to fight, okay, Intel, Spirit, which one weighs better for me? Don't worry about it. Intel covers it all now. With that being said, a few things are actually changing as far as the actual glyphs go. Major glyphs are going away. Most of them are getting baked into the actual spells that they already benefited. But for the most part, you're not going to see major glyphs anymore. Minor glyphs, however, they are staying, but not in the current state. So because they're not going to be in the current state that they are, they're going to be more like the actual enchanting vellums. An inscriptionist is going to make you the glyph, apply it to a little piece of paper, you take it, you apply it to your spell directly in the spell book, that's it. If you change that glyph to something else, you're going to have to purchase another glyph from your inscriptionist. No longer is it I learned it once, I know it forever. This is now like actual enchants. You learn it, put it on the item. If you change that spell, and you decide, you know what, I don't want polymorph to make blue sheep, I want it to make red sheep, you need a new glyph. And no, I've checked, that's not the actual glyphs that exist. There's no blue and red sheep. I would love it, but there is none. So that's one thing that's changing glyphs. It's going to make inscriptionists actually happy, because now they'll actually have a purpose that really keeps them in the game, other than just doing some item upgrades later on. Talents are being changed. Not a huge amount as far as the way they function, but how you actually change them. So currently, it's Tome of Clear Mind up through level 100. However, level 101 and higher, you can only change your talents while you are in a city, in a class hall, or brand new into a dungeon via the Dungeon Finder tool. You'll get a buff that allows you to change it for the first moments of the actual dungeon. Outside of that, you're going to need what's called a Codex of Clear Mind. This, again, is something made by inscriptionists. It's a little more expensive to make, but it allows not only just yourself, but others to change their talents in a dungeon, raid, out in the field. Whatever they're doing, they can change it then. Just know, Blizzard has said this is not something that everyone's going to have on their being at every waking moment. So it's probably going to be something as a guild we're going to want to kind of collaborate to make sure we have available, because there are a lot of fights where you need to change up your talents to make sure you better accommodate. The next thing for the class updates, gnomes will be able to roll hunters. This is going to happen about 2 weeks after the patch goes live. The pre-patch, that is. So gnomes will start at level 1 as a hunter. They're going to get a mechanical pet. You will be able to boost them to level 100 using your character boost if you purchase Legion. So keep that in mind. There are many other ways to level it up very fast. There are potions that you can get that are 15 minutes for 300% experience gain. There are hour-long versions you can find in the world. Keep it in mind, gnome hunters are a thing. On to the next topic, demon hunters. They are the newest class to World of Warcraft. As with the Gnome Hunters, they're going to go live about 2 weeks post the pre-patch. You're going to be starting at level 98. As per Blizzard Warcraft developers said, you should be able to quickly level up through the starting zones to level 100 so you can actually participate in raiding and the pre-events with your friends. So, that's actually very nice to know. So a lot of you will be able to try them out, see what they're like in raiding environments, and see if it's something you can get into. Now, Demon Hunters can only be 2 races, Blood Elves and Night Elves. They did say in the future you might see other races, but currently just these 2. They're also going to be unique. They only have 2 talent specializations, Havoc, which is a heavy melee DPS build, and Vengeance, which is a heavy tanking build. We'll get more into those later on, but there's the quick overview. Just know that they are available. And all this information, as I said, will be a link in the description to the sources so you can go into more details and find out what's really going on underneath the hood. On to professions. A big part of Legion, they said, is going to be how professions work. From gathering to crafting, everything's getting an overhaul. Now, the actual overhauls to what you're doing will happen with the Legion launch itself. However, the UI, the interface that you work with, is getting a huge overhaul come the pre-patch, so you can find out if you like it. The last time this has happened was back in Wrath of the Lich King, when they added the filtering option. Big hoo-ha. So, these are some things they're doing. They're revamping how the sorting and filtering changes work. They're changing the actual view to be a better tree view. Basically, you're going to have your lists on the left. That list is also going to include recipes you have not learned yet. So instead of having to go to a city, go to a profession trainer and ask them, what do I not know? You will know that from the get-go using your own user interface. On the right-hand side, you're going to be able to see easily all of the ingredients needed. How many times have you seen something like the Sandstone Drake, and you're like, okay, I need 12 different items, and you're constantly scrolling that little tiny window, and it's like impossible to see. This is going back to an old mod years and years ago in the past. There was a Profession Overhaul mod that actually put the Profession list on the left and the actual items that you needed on the right. They're finally implementing it. So that's going to make life a lot easier. You can see things better, you can navigate better, and know what's going on. Another thing that's going to go live, but it's not going to affect any of the actual items right now, is the scaling of 1 to 3 star level profession items. Some items are going to have a 1, 2, or 3 star level. What that means is it's kind of like a preemptive to your stage 1 of 6, 2 of 6, 3 of 6, and so forth. If you make a level 1 star item, and let's say it has 50 strength, 50 haste, 50 crit, a 3-star variation may have 70, 70, and 70. That's the kind of idea that they're going for. Higher grade stars, higher grade content, not to mention you should still be able to do stage upgrades on these. That's something they're going for. They said they're planning on keeping it the same kind of concept. They're also planning on keeping it with 3 items per character. So keep it in mind, a lot of nice changes for professions. On to transmog. This one here, they call it the wardrobe system. I call it the transmog dictionary. So they have taken some core ideas from Mogit, one of the add-ons that I always recommend. And they are implementing a lot of that into their own transmog system. When we talk about transmog, we are talking about items that are soul-bound to your character, equipable by your class, and are considered to be your class item. I.e., if you are a warrior, you will have soul-bound plate items, which means you're not wearing a staff with a cloth dress. If you have a 2-handed sword and a plate mail armor, then that's fine. It counts as transmog. But that dress and staff do not count. They will not be able to be transmogged. Why am I bringing this up? Well, anything that you have in your bags, in your bank, your void storage, as long as it is soul-bound and it is able to be worn and transmogged currently by your character, will be added in to the internal transmog system dictionary, which means you no longer have to keep that item. You can throw that item away. It's in your actual transmog dictionary for permanent usage. Best part, it is account bound at that point, which means if you make a paladin one day and you get a whole nice cool set, that's cool. You make a Death Knight tomorrow, that Death Knight can use that set as long as it's something they could equip, which means obviously class set items like, let's say, the Judgment Regalia, that ain't gonna fly. But if it's the lookalike version that's purple, that will work. So keep it in mind. It's awesome. There's a lot of details with it. I'm not going to cover every single thing, so definitely look at that link in the description. Another note for transmog. All previously completed quests from vanilla to current that awarded you gear that you could have transmogged into at that time on that character, so i.e. plate for plate, swords for sword-wielding people, etc., will be rewarded and added automatically into your transmog dictionary. That means someone like my wife, the guild leader, who has done every known quest to mankind, can now actually benefit from the male quest rewards and the bow quest rewards that she didn't keep from back in vanilla. She can finally transmog into those. That is a huge win for us transmog junkies. So keep it in mind, you're going to have a huge amount to work with. Now, the last few things here real fast, they are adding in 3 new types of transmog items: shirts, tabards, and weapon enchants. Which means, if you're a Death Knight that has that stupid red enchant that everyone kind of figures you have to have, but you're unholy, you want a green set, you can finally transmog into Mongoose and look green all the way around. That is awesome. Enough with the transmog, though. I gotta get serious here. We gotta talk about the demonic invasion. So, again, about 2 weeks after the pre-patch drops, you're gonna start seeing demonic invasions pop up across Azeroth. You can participate in these assaults by killing the demons. Doing so, you're going to get rewards, items, transmog, and the best part is a feat of strength, showing that you've been there at the time the demonic invasion started. So, you may also notice, upon logging in, you may be presented with a buff or a debuff. I believe it's a buff, though. That's called the Dark Whispers. Unless they change the name, obviously. Now, these Dark Whispers are going to replace your current action bar with a new action bar. What's going to happen is you can actually pass this demonic plague, these whispers, onto another person of the same faction. So, that little dwarf that drives you crazy in the Stormwind Trade District, you could Dark Whisper to them, and it will turn them evil against their own people and faction. The guards will attack them, causing chaos. Cool part is for you, you get a stack for every time you do that. Upon reaching 9 or 10 stacks, for a short amount of time, I believe it's like 2 minutes, you will turn into a Dreadlord. Not only that, you become invulnerable. You will be able to wreak havoc and chaos upon your own faction and city. This is extremely reminiscent of the old school corrupted blood plague that happened, where people just deliberately tried to kill other people. They're giving you a conditioned way to do just that. So keep it in mind, you can have a lot of fun with this. Granted, they did say you should be able to remove this buff if you do not want to participate. So for those stick in the muds that really don't want to play with this, that's fine. They respect your opinion not to. They allow you to take it off. I'm hoping you keep it on because I like killing people. But you didn't hear that from Rue. Not at all. Anywho, so some of the last things with the demonic invasion here. You're going to also find Doomsayers, which are very reminiscent of the Doomsayers from the actual Cataclysm pre-event, where they're going to be passing out pamphlets that actually talk about the demonic invasion and all the good stuff that happens with it. There is an achievement to collect 12 of those pamphlets during a specific time frame. Do so. Achievement get. The last thing, and I'm not going to actually spoil anything for the Broken Shores event here, but I am going to state, it will be available at the same time the demonic invasion is. It is a 40-man scaling, so if there's not quite 40 people, it will adjust. But tentatively 40 people, 20 Horde, 20 Alliance, in the same scenario doing the Broken Shores event. You will see old faces, new faces, and some old enemies. Definitely something fun to get in on. Demon Hunters, get to level 100 so you can participate as well. Hope to all see you there doing that fun stuff. So, that concludes all the pre-event stuff. The one thing that we did want to talk about on the side, Goldbag and I have been doing this for months, where we try to get gold as fast as we can so we can accommodate things that we want to get. There are going to be items in Legion that are worth 1 to 2 million gold from vendors alone. Not to mention, the gold cap is being raised to 9.999 million. Basically 10 million minus 1 gold. So, that is awesome. There's a lot of room to gain and hoard your gold. Be Smaug, you know? So, here are some little tips that we actually have put together that will help you actually get that gold. First, playing the auction house. Sometimes there's that one person out there that's like, I'm selling these frostweeds for 200 gold for a 200 stack. That's it. I'm not selling it any less. I'm not selling it any more. And then you go on there and sell yours for $1.90. They are going to buy your actual items and resell it at their rate. They make a profit, but at the same point, you made a profit. If you learn how to play the auction house very well, you can make a good amount of money. Poor Goldbag deals with that all the time. Now, it doesn't happen every single time you do something, but you'll learn who does and who doesn't, so you'll know who to look for. Secondary thing, crafting reagents. And I'm not talking like, you know, hey, here's some true iron ore. I'm talking Fellblight, Savage Bloods, things of that sort, the actual upgrades to your staged items 5 and 6, those things sell for good money. People are trying to deck their characters out now before Legion hits. Do it now while you have the chance. Now, there are some easy ways to do it on the auction house. However, this is the way that Goldbag and I really focus on getting our actual money and income. Cataclysm 25-man heroic raids. You can do it on 25-man normal, but we prefer the heroic version because it gives you the biggest net gain. So, what raids are we talking about? Blackwing Descent, which is on the side of Blackrock Mountain. Bastion of Twilight, which is on the border between Loch Madan and Twilight Highlands. Firelands in southern Mount Hijel. And Dragon Soul in the Caverns of Time. Those 4 can yield you, on average, if you do 25-man heroic, anywhere between 7,000 and 8,000 gold if you sell everything except for Bind on Equip and Ember Silk. That is great. You can do them once a week. Now, speaking of Bind on Equip and Ember Silk you can easily sell in the auction house for 75 stacks, 100 stacks, or 200 stacks pretty decently, and they sell pretty often. Bind on Equip items sometimes don't sell as valuable, just because so many people do this. Now, rule of thumb, if you try to sell something once to twice and it doesn't, vendor it. Okay, typically the auction that you're trying to sell should also be at a minimum 150 gold. If it's not, it's probably not worth investing into trying to actually auction it. So 150 gold or more, auction. 1 to 2 attempts, vendor. Okay? Now, the average time it takes to complete these 4 raids, depending how good you are at it, can take as little as an hour and a half to as long as 2.5 hours. It really depends on who you are, what you're running on, and how comfortable you are doing this. If you have questions, ask Goldbag, ask Jester of Rue, myself. We will tell you what the best method is to doing these raids and getting them done in an efficient manner. Now, here's an example. Goldbag recently did a test where he did 5 characters, 1 week. He sold Savage Blood on the auction house, crafting materials on the auction house, general things he got from the raids on the auction house. When he did all these, he made about 105,000 gold. Between running his garrison and all that, he made good money in 1 week. 1 week. That is huge. Now, granted, he's hardcore into this. Not everyone's going to get that kind of yield. So remember, this is just an average that he's done. This may not result in what you get, but you can still make it happen. Even at a minimum, if you do 1 character, that's 10,000 a week. I do 4 characters. So, you can make money. I made 300,000 in just about a month and a half. So, trust me, it can be done very easily. So, outside of all of that, I believe that concludes our talk of the Hallowed End news for this week. So, remember, all the sources that I have for this, except for the bonus gold, all of that is going to be in the description below. Most of it is Wowhead, because that is the most concise place I can find the info. MMO, a little sloppy. But all the sources are in the description below. If you like this, leave a comment. Tell us what you want to see us do in the future. Tell us you want to see this continue. Subscribe to the channel. And remember, hit the like button. Let me know if this is something you actually consider to be useful to yourselves. So, with all that being said, that wraps us up for tonight. Y'all take care. You have a nice day. And remember,